What if I told you that one of the biggest icons in Hollywood history passed away in a case that people are still debating more than 60 years later? Most people know the name Marilyn Monroe. She was one of the most famous actresses in the world during the 1950s and the early 1960s. Her films were global hits, her image became legendary, and even today she remains one of the most recognizable figures in entertainment history. But behind the glamour, her life was far more complicated than the public ever saw. Monroe was born as Norma Jean Mortensen in 1926. Her childhood was unstable, and she spent much of her early life moving between foster homes and relatives. Despite that difficult beginning, she eventually became a model and later signed a contract with a major Hollywood studio. From there, her rise to fame was incredibly fast. Films like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Some Like It Hot turned her into a global star. She became known for her charisma, her humor, and the unique screen presence that made audiences around the world fall in love with her. But fame also brought enormous pressure. Friends and colleagues later described Monroe as someone who often struggled with anxiety, exhaustion, and the constant expectations of the Hollywood system. By the early 1960s, her life had become increasingly complicated. She had experienced several difficult relationships and was also trying to reinvent her career, taking acting classes and pushing for more serious roles. Then, in August of 1962, something happened that would become one of the most discussed events in Hollywood history. Marilyn Monroe was found unresponsive in her home in Los Angeles. She was only 36 years old. Authorities investigated the situation, and the official report concluded that she had taken a large amount of sleeping medication. The case was classified as a probable suicide, but almost immediately, questions began to appear. Some investigators and journalists noticed details that didn't seem to fit perfectly into the official timeline. For example, there were debates about the exact time events occurred that night. There were also discussions about phone calls Monroe may have made earlier in the evening. Over time, even more theories began to circulate. Some writers suggested that Monroe may have had connections to powerful political figures of the era. Others believed that sensitive information or personal relationships might have placed her in a complicated situation. However, it is important to remember that many of these ideas remain theories rather than proven facts. Still, the mystery continued to grow. Books were written, documentaries were produced, journalists continued investigating the story for decades, and every few years, new speculation would appear in the media. What makes this case so fascinating is that Marilyn Monroe wasn't just another actress. She was a global symbol. Her image represented Hollywood itself, which is why so many people have asked the same question for decades. Was the official explanation the complete story? Or were there details about that night that never fully became public? Even today, historians, journalists, and fans continue to debate the events surrounding her passing. More than 60 years later, the mystery still captures the imagination of people around the world. One woman, one night, and a story that continues to raise questions. So, let me ask you something. Do you believe the official explanation about what happened to Marilyn Monroe? Or do you think there may still be pieces of the story that the public never heard? Comment your theory below and follow for more mysteries, conspiracies, and hidden stories from Hollywood. Because sometimes the most famous stories in history are also the ones we understand the least.